All right. Hey guys, this is Jordann. I am the founder and CEO of Base Culture. We do all natural, gluten-free, paleo baked goods and snacks. This is my era. What about you?
Doop, 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 doop. Great job.
Awesome.
This is My Era podcast. We spark the minds that set the trends that change the world as we know. And it starts right now. So let's go. This is My Era. Hosted by Kuda Biza. And yours truly, Mr. Alexander Starr. This is My Era. Represents everybody who knows they want a better world and does something about it. This is our era. What about you?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful day today at the This Is My Era podcast, and hopefully where you're at as well. My name is Alexander Starr, and I'm here with my brother, Kuda Biza. Kuda, what's up?
Nothing much, man. How you doing?
I'm amazing, man. I'm amazing. After we interviewed our guest today, I have a feeling I'm going to feel a lot more better because this young lady is bringing people back to their base. She is founder and CEO of Base Culture, a nationally recognized leader in the paleo industry. And I think we all need to eat better. We can all do better, and this woman can help us. She's impacting the lives of millions by helping them eat and clean healthy. Welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, Jordann Windschauer.
Hi guys, it's so nice to be here with you. Thanks for that amazing introduction.
For sure. Well, my first question is, did I pronounce your last name properly?
You did, actually. Not many people do, so congrats on that.
Thank you. So, first question, because, a lot of people might not know what paleo is. So, can you describe what paleo is and the impact that it had on your life when you began to do it?
Absolutely. So if you're following the paleo lifestyle, you really only eat meat, vegetables, seeds and nuts, and fruit. And those are the guidelines you stick to throughout every single day. When I got into this paleo lifestyle, I had actually joined a CrossFit gym that was here in Tampa, where I'm from, and I had just graduated from college. And when I joined the CrossFit gym, they were actually doing a paleo challenge. So I figured really the best way to make friends and get involved is to jump in, and do what everyone else is doing. So I participated in this challenge, really not knowing anything about paleo. But it turns out that I really liked it. And for me, it wasn't about a weight loss game plan or anything like that. It was more so about feeling better. I slept better at night. I had more energy throughout the day. I really just had this clarity of mind that I didn't have prior to. And don't get me wrong, I never ate terribly. Of course, I paid attention to that throughout college, but I was also a college student. So there's a balance there. But after I did this paleo challenge with the gym, I really did find that difference in my life that I wanted to continue. So I did this challenge for another 30 days after the original 30 days was set for the challenge, just to make sure I continued to see those benefits in my life. And I really only saw them increasing. So I knew at that point there was something to it.
So being a college student, we all know college students don't eat that great. Was it like a huge shock to your body, like cutting out all of these non-essential foods and just going straight paleo? How long did it take you to adjust to that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It was a big shock. I mean, I would say for about the first 2 weeks is really hard, especially if you're going from eating anything you want, any time of the day you want, to eating this way. It's hard to adjust to not only eating like this, but also shopping like this. But once you make those adjustments and you figure out where the food is in the store, what can you buy, what can't you buy, what do you need to make sure you're looking out for? It's just like that educational barrier that you have to break through. And then once you get past that point, it becomes really easy. And there's a lot of tools online that help you as well. But of course, you just have to go out and look for them. But the whole cravings thing, that's really what got me, because I have a huge sweet tooth, and I got into the paleo lifestyle 6 years ago, and there weren't any products in the marketplace in regards to sweets and snacks that were paleo. You know, there were some gluten-free options, of course, but paleo goes even beyond gluten-free because it cuts out all the wheat and grains. So there was really a huge challenge for me in regards to the sweets department because, you know, I wanted a brownie at the end of the night.
It's totally understandable. So I understand you took action as soon as you got out of college. In your own words, you set fire to baking goods in your apartment and selling them straight from your apartment. Is that?
I did. Yes. Yeah. I actually, because of that desire to have those baked goods and snacks, because I grew up eating them like brownies and breads and things like that, I tried to find them, like I said, in the marketplace, but it didn't exist. And so I did a lot of research. Now, I probably did too much research for myself, only because I'm not celiac. I don't have any gluten intolerances. I just felt a lot better doing this. But I'm really detail oriented. So I really dug into that research and looked into how to bake with seeds and nuts instead of wheats and grains, and using honey instead of sugar, and how do you make vanilla extract paleo, and just the essentials that you would use on a normal basis in baking. How do you convert that to paleo ingredients? And of course, I went to school to be an event planner. At least that was my goal. And so I didn't have any culinary background to really draw upon when I was developing these recipes. And so it took about 6 months for me to figure out some things that I actually liked that really didn't, you know, they weren't good for gluten-free. Like, they were just really good, or they weren't good for paleo. They were really, really good. And I came up with a brownie, a banana bread, and granola. And so for my, you know, checking my own boxes of what I needed to get throughout the day following this paleo lifestyle without cheating or without, you know, constantly craving something that I was fighting internally, those were the 3 products that I needed to have: banana bread in the morning, a granola as a snack throughout the day, and then a brownie as dessert at night. It really helped me along this journey. You know, but it just was a give and take with, you know, those were the only things I had created at that time. So I really didn't have much variance, but it worked for what I was looking for.
Wow. So in essence, you really launched a product out of your own self-necessity. Like, you decided to switch your diet, and you were like, nobody's supplying me what I need, so I'm going to make it myself. So you started making it yourself. And at what point did you start saying, like, yo, other people want this?
So after I figured them out for myself, I really had no intention to go forward. You know, I was 21. I had like no idea how to start a business, you know, what those next steps were, anything like that. It really wasn't even in the forefront of my mind to do so. However, after I did that 6 months of trial and error and figuring out the recipes for myself, just serendipitously, the gym I had joined was actually doing another paleo challenge. So I brought the products that I created to my friends and had them try it. And they told me, like, man, this is great. I would totally pay you if you made this for me, because I don't have enough time in my life to make it. And it's not convenient for me, but they're delicious. And I totally agree with you. You know, there's nothing in the marketplace for me to go out and buy, but this would keep me on track and it would be amazing. So that's really where the light bulb turned on. And I was like, wow, you know, maybe there is a need for other people, because now that I know how to make these products, it isn't necessarily the easiest process. And it's not convenient for, you know, working moms, working dads, just busy people in general. Everyone has their own life. But to have them at hand ready when there is a craving or whenever you want a quick snack on the go, that's really where I was like, okay, well, maybe, you know, I should make this into a bigger thing. And so initially I started a business on Facebook, and that was my first platform to really talk to the customers and tell them when I was going to start baking the products. And then they could post underneath my post saying, okay, I want, you know, 1 order of brownies and 2 orders of banana bread. And then I would make everything at night and then deliver on the weekend. But of course, at that time, I still had a regular 8 to 5 desk job that was more in the event planning world, because that's where I was headed. But I'd still maintain that, and then would work out from 5:30 to 6:30, and then start baking around 7. and it would, be midnight or 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. as the demand continued to grow. So I really saw an uptick and an interest right away.
That's quite interesting. So, it was kind of like your side hustle, then it became your main hustle.
Exactly.
So can you walk us through the transition from, at what point did you then decide to quit your, event planning job to then fully focus all chips in on really building the business?
Yeah, it actually came down to one big incident. So at this point, when I was baking until like 3 o'clock in the morning and delivering on the weekends, I noticed that there were a couple news anchors from a local news channel here in Tampa following me. And so I reached out to them and just put it out there. It's like, hey, does anyone want to do a story? You all are following me. I figured if you don't ask, you'll never get. So I just threw it out there, and actually one of the news anchors said, yeah, absolutely, call me. And so I did, and they did a story. It was about a 5-minute segment, and they covered base culture. They covered what I was doing in the paleo community. They covered, my story and how I started it, and just paleo in general as an educational piece for their listeners and viewers. And they aired it in Tampa like they said they would, but they also put it in their network pool. So stations around the country actually started picking it up and playing it for about a week, which was huge. I, definitely didn't expect it. I was operating under the cottage food law at that time, which you can't sell online or ship to customers. You can only sell directly to customers. So like in like a farmer's market type setting, or like delivery, which is what I was doing. And so I had stores calling me, and I had customers calling from out of state trying to order, and it was just out of my capacity at that time. I couldn't do that legally or physically. I only had 2 hands in one oven. So I couldn't keep up with that demand. And actually that was really the pivotal moment for me, because I went to lunch with my dad, my dad is now a director of base culture and my mentor. Really, he is not in the consumer products industry, but he is definitely an entrepreneur at heart. He's actually a geophysicist, and he started his own business. Yeah, I mean, he'll tell you he's only a geophysicist because he knew how to spell it, but I know he's very humble in that regards. But he started his own business 30 years ago in his garage with about $50 and grew it to about, I think at his highest point, he had over 200 employees and everything like that, but sold it 3 years ago to his managing partners. So it stayed in the family, and it was a very cool relationship that they had. But at the time that I approached him about base culture and what I was doing, and I had all of this interest from people all over the country and stores, and I told him, my current hours and lack of sleep and everything like that, he really laid it out there for me in the most loving way possible. He told me that I have a business and a hobby, and I'm doing both poorly. And I really needed to decide, where is my passion? Where do I want to focus my time? Because if this is a hobby, then I'm spending way too much time on it. And if it's a business, I'm not spending enough on it. And that was that moment where I needed to step back and figure out for myself, is this where I want to spend my time? Is this, where I want my life to go? And at 22 at this point, that's a pretty big question to ask yourself, because you're really just figuring out life in general, let alone what you want to do in regards to starting a business. And I had no idea the expense that would be behind this, and the time, the commitment, and the frustration, and the anxiety, and the joy, and the wonderfulness around every day. The highs and lows are crazy. I had no idea what I was getting into, but I think that probably helped me take that jump, because I didn't know. I was naive to the requirements of what it would take. Of course, my dad had an idea, and he always tells his story. He started his business. Of course, I was a gymnast growing up, and he saw my commitment to that sport. And he knew that I would have the commitment and drive to do this, to do a business, to be a CEO, to be a founder, to be a leader. He could see those qualities in me. So he had full belief in me, and as his daughter, to go out and pursue this. So when I told him that this is really where my heart is, I can see the difference I'm making in other people's lives. I can see how I'm affecting them in a positive manner. I'm allowing individuals with celiac disease and gluten intolerances and people that haven't had the ability to eat these kinds of products ever in their lives to have them. And I was getting, wonderful feedback from them saying, you've helped me, you've helped my family, you've helped my daughter, my son, you're making this a joy. Thank you so much. And those are what really drove me to start and really jump in without looking back.
What an amazing journey and an amazing story you've just shared. And sometimes having good mentors around us and people who can just kind of like ask us those tough questions, are really needed in order for you to move on. So you made that decision. And how did you then get the funding and the financing to get started?
So there's actually one other step in between building the facility we're in now and where I was at that point. So after I spoke with my dad and decided this is it, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, I found a small commercial kitchen that I could rent space from. And I could get into those areas and then ship to the consumers and ship to the retail stores because I had the certifications then that I needed that I didn't have in my apartment, which was another really big step forward. I also at that point hired a baker and she actually knew what she was doing in the kitchen. And unlike myself, she was very much trained in that, which was great. And it allowed me to get out of the kitchen and start selling. So I was then able to go to independent stores and talk to them. And when I say independent stores, I mean like your mom and pop shops or your natural nutrition markets around the corner, not a big name store like a Publix or a Whole Foods or Wegmans or something like that, because you need appointments and a lot of other things to open those doors. But at the time I didn't have anything, so I would just knock on doors that would open. And so I did that for a while and spoke to them and got the products into their doors, which was about 6 months, and it was going really, really well. But at that point, I couldn't shake the question, how do you break into those bigger chain stores? Is this product line something that someone or those people, would they ever be interested in it? Or is it only going to be like this small mom and pop shop type of product? So let's see, at that point, I really started doing more research online. So yeah, it seems like that's where everything's cultivated, right? Because the world is at our fingertips. But I started really looking into conferences that I could get involved in to talk to these larger chains. And I found a conference, it's called ECRM, and it's like speed dating for a business. And they put together this conference where they bring big buyers in from those retail chains and then entrepreneurs like myself or just other brands in to talk to the buyers. And you match with the companies before you go to the show, so they're interested in you and you're interested in them. And then you have a 10-minute meeting at the show. It's a 3-day show, and I matched with 90 companies out of 120. So I had 90 meetings in 3 days. It was crazy. Yeah. And but it was really great because I knew at the end of those 3 days, I would either have the validation I needed to start a business on this larger scale or reassurance that this wasn't the right direction for me. And it turned out that really every single company I met with wanted to buy it. And it was huge. It was that next step. It was that nudge I needed to take that forward, to take the business forward. And it was incredible. It was one of those pivotal moments, again, saying, wow, there is a need for this nationally on a big level. There isn't anything like it. These buyers that are presented products multiple times a day, every single day of the week throughout the year, they've never seen this before and they love it. This is an opportunity to really create something special. And so at that point, that's when we actually tried to find a co-packer to make the food for us, because obviously now it's just me and one baker and 2 ovens, and not enough capacity again to fill the needs of these larger retail chains. So at that point, looking for a co-packer was the logical next step, because they could then make the products for us. So we hired a specialist in that area and tried to infiltrate the market and find a co-packer to do it, but we came up empty-handed. And we came up empty-handed for a couple of reasons. One, because no manufacturer in the country knew how to make paleo baked goods and snacks out of seeds and nuts, and instead of wheats and grains, and using honey instead of sugar, and it wasn't in their process, so it didn't work for them. And they were like, well, you have to change this, that, or the other thing. It's not going to be exactly the same. And it's just like, that's not what the people like. The people like what I'm doing. It's not your iteration of it. It's what I started in my kitchen. It's how we grew from nothing to this. Changing it right now, that's not even really an option. And so that was one big issue. And the other issue was that no manufacturing plants had the certifications that I wanted, which were non-GMO, gluten-free, paleo, kosher, and women-owned. Also SQF Level 2, which stands for Safe Quality Food. So it's just making sure that the products are safe for the consumers and at the quality and integrity that the manufacturer intends them to be. And so those were things that were deal breakers for me, because I didn't want to put products on the marketplace that I could not guarantee with 100% of assurance, saying, yeah, I know they are perfect for you to eat no matter what, especially with people with the intolerances and dietary restrictions consuming the products.
Right.
I couldn't risk that. And so that really put me at a crossroads where it was, how am I going to take this next step? Because there's no one that can make it for me. I'm too small right now, and all of these big retailers want it. How do I cross that bridge? And so the only option was then to build our own facility. And so that was that moment where I decided, if I'm not all in yet, this is where I go head deep underwater and just hold my breath and come up for air at some point, but not anytime soon, because this was going to be a big undertaking. And about at this time was actually when my dad sold his business and was able to come on board with Base Culture as our director. And he and I went to a local bank and were able to get a bank loan, a small business loan, to then have the funds necessary to build our facility. So we found a 44,000 square foot manufacturing plant that was actually located in Clearwater, Florida, which is just about 20 minutes outside of Tampa. And perfect location for us, because my dad and the rest of my family still lives in St. Pete, which is about 15 minutes from Clearwater. So it was in between my dad and I. And it was the perfect infrastructure that we needed, because it used to be a U.S. Foods distribution plant. So it was built with food in mind. It used to have all of the processes of the DC inside there. So the floor, ceilings, walls, everything was insulated to the grade it needed to be to handle food. And then after it was a distribution center, it was a brownie manufacturing plant. And when we were looking to buy, the brownie manufacturer was actually going under. So we were able to purchase the facility from them. And once we got that facility, we started construction, because we had to really update it. And the inside, the wall, ceilings, and floors stayed as is, but the flow of the process needed to be changed to what we needed for our products. So that process took about 2.5 years.
So what I find really beautiful about this whole story that you're telling me is you're an innovator, but also a student the entire time. Like,
Yes.
You're innovating something that everybody wants, but you're just kind of figuring it out as you go on how it actually works and how people are doing it, and finding that people are doing it in a way that's nothing like your way. You're learning as a student that, well, I can't be a student. I have to continue being an innovator. I got to do this on my own. So real quick, like, correct me if I'm wrong, a big turning point was that conference that you went to.
Yeah.
Right? So I think what that attests to is network is like one of the hugest resources that you could have. You can knock on people's doors, but until you find that network or that conference per se, where the concentration of people that you want to know who you are there, you need to put yourself in those positions so these people actually get you onto their radars.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing I've ever learned throughout this process. It's all about the people you surround yourself with. You know, I continue to learn every day. I'm still a student every single day. And I literally learn new things that I didn't know before. And I know that there's still more things out there that I didn't know or I don't know now that I need to learn, but only time will give you that. But if you don't surround yourself with the right people, you're never going to make it. It's the people that have the experience and the knowledge and the wherewithal to help steer you in the right direction. But don't get me wrong, you know, being an innovator and being someone that thinks outside the box, and for me, coming from no experience in this industry, I kind of have a bit of an edge in that I'm thinking about it differently. And so if I go to some of my advisors now and be like, well, I want to do this, or I'm thinking that this will be a really big thing in the industry. What do you think? They can say, based off of the data, based off of our knowledge, based off of our experiences, we don't think it'll work, or we do think it'll work. But I'm originally coming up with the ideas that might not necessarily have generated if I had that experience in the past. Because once you go through this, and I know every industry is different, but I'm sure it has its similarities in the learning experiences. Once you see how things work in the industry, and once you understand that process, it's really about thinking about it in a different way to challenge it. How do you do it in a way that no one's done it before? Because that's really the only way you're going to grab the attention from the consumers or from these big decision makers and buyers. And that's what they're interested in. You know, they see the mundane presentations every day that are repetitive. But if you can come in with a fresh breath of air and a new idea and a new experience and something that they haven't considered before, then you can really shake things up. But having that backbone of the experienced advisors or mentors or boards of directors, and having those people to just really give you their vote of confidence, that's the huge difference maker. And so, yes, 100%, this conference was really that vote of confidence we needed to really dive into this industry full force, saying, all right, here comes the college student and geophysicist. We're really going to shake up the food world in a big way. But in a new way and in an exciting way.
That's incredible. So I want to fast forward to the statistic that you gave me to really to let our listeners know exactly what's going on with base culture. So you know, fast forward, you got your factory. It's all done in-house, which is incredible, especially in the food industry where most companies do mass outsourcing for everything they do.
Right.
But you went from 100 stores to 4,000 stores. Your product being in 4,000 stores from 100 in a single year.
Yes.
That is insane, first and foremost. Second of all, we need you to let our listeners know where they can find Base Culture products.
Absolutely. You know, it has been an incredible year. Like you said, we've grown tremendously. And really the only reason we were able to grow that much is because we were able to control our manufacturing plant and processes. So we could put out the demand. And you know, throughout the 2.5 years that I was building this facility, I continued to go out and increase that network that we were just talking about. I continued to foster the relationships with the buyers and really pitch them products, but tell them, I'm really glad you're interested. Don't order it yet. We're not ready. This is why. This is the facility we're building. I'll let you know when we can, and it'll be soon. And that's what I continue to tell them over the 2.5 years. And luckily, they stuck around and had patience for me, because when we were able to move into the facility, I could go back to them and say, okay, now's your time. Now's when you can order, which really helped us gain a lot of the traction in the marketplace that you just mentioned, the growth that we were able to achieve. We also were very fortunate enough to partner with Presence Marketing, which is a brokerage firm. So they have about 250 sales reps on the ground every day around the country talking about base culture. And we hired them in July of last year, so July of 2017. So that was right before we went to market. We went to market in October. So we got them trained and on board, and so they understood how to sell the products like we were selling the products, and they could hit the ground running and do what we were doing to help increase our orders and the POs that we were getting from stores and approvals. Because this industry, you really have, it's like a 6-month lead time. You have to make sure you're on the right calendar. You have to get the appointment during the time they're doing the review period. And then there's a decision period of time that the buyer has. And once the buyer approves it, then there's another little waiting period before you actually get the order. So knowing all this, not then, now, this is one of those things you learn along the way. There's a method to the madness. And so it was really fortunate that I was able to maintain the relationships I was prior to even starting to sell and produce in the facility. So when we turned the lights on in October of 2017, like you said, we were only in 100 stores, and we were able to really gain that growth through the network that we had developed up to 4,000 today. So just stores in specific, we're in everything from Whole Foods on the natural side of things to Walmart and Kroger and H-E-B. We're also in Wegmans and in Sprouts. We've got that on the natural side as well. And we're just recently breaking into the Albertsons chains, more so on the West Coast right now. But as time goes on, we're going to continue to open doors on the East Coast. And, it's really wonderful to see that there's a need for these products in both the conventional stores and the natural stores, which is very different than natural products in general. When natural products launch, they usually start with your Whole Foods or with those natural stores because that's where the customer is. However, we had interest from the conventional stores right up front because they've realized that they need the millennials. They need those natural-minded individuals coming into their stores because that's how the market is evolving. Mm-hmm. That's where it's really coming into play. So if they didn't have products that the millennials are interested in, then they're going to fall behind. And so we had early on traction with Walmart and with Kroger, which is risky on one side of things. People always warn you that you need to be ready for those giants. But again, here's where the naivety comes in, and we need to, I needed to fill the plant. I needed to make sure that we had brownies cooking around the clock. I needed to make sure that our workers, our employees, our team had a purpose and had something to do, because now we have this huge facility, and if we don't fill it, that's just not an option. So Walmart was actually our first national account, and we made it work from day one, and we've had a wonderful relationship with them. It's only been positive, and we see great traction there with their customers, and even more so with Kroger and the other natural stores the other conventional stores that I mentioned. So, and of course, there's a huge following on the natural side as well. It's just sometimes people don't quite understand that transition between natural and conventional, which has been really great for us.
So, Jordann, how do you just manage your time? Because, you're going from dealing with, 1,000, doors to now, 4,000 in 12 months. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming there's an exponential, time demand in terms of like preparing for those line reviews and, all the things that come with managing those accounts. Mm-hmm. And kind of like handling the day to day. You probably now have more people working, with you in this venture. So how do you manage your time to make sure you're getting the most out of it and being, ultra productive?
That's a great question. And sometimes I have no idea, but it's a matter of taking one day at a time and having the right people on the team to help you manage it, because I can't do it all myself. Last year at this point, we had about 26 people working with us. Now we've got about 50. So we've doubled in our team. But in regards to managing the accounts, I've got wonderful sales girls that really know and have learned this industry as well. They didn't come from a CPG background or consumer product background as well. I'm sorry, I'm used to abbreviating everything. But they didn't have that knowledge. I actually knew both of them in college. They were college friends that were interested in what I was doing and saw my passion and really wanted to join the team, and has gravitated to the point where they own their relationships. They own the stores that they manage, and they know how to communicate with both the sales brokers that we have through Presence as well as with the buyer. And it's really all about those relationships that you have, because if you can pick up a phone and call those buyers, or pick up the phone and call the sales reps and see what's going on a daily basis, you're not going to drop a ball. It's when there's a question mark or you're not really sure what's going on, that's where things get lost. But having those girls on the team have allowed me to really let go of managing the day-to-day sales accounts. So at this point in time, I'm able to be the CEO and be the founder and be the voice of the brand. I'm still going to all the meetings with them and pitching the products and doing those things, but I also have other responsibilities like managing the brand and maintaining the voice and the marketing and overseeing manufacturing. Of course, I've put people in place underneath me to do the daily work, but I have to be on top of it, making sure that we're still sticking true to who we were when we started. The products today taste exactly how they tasted when I made them in my kitchen at home, which is one of the most important things for me, because that's what people love. They want homemade baked goods and snacks. That's what people crave. They don't want manufactured tasting products. And so even though we've increased our capacity from literally one batch of brownies a day to making, about 200,000 brownies a day, things have still stayed true to who we are. And so I think in managing my time, I just have to really look. I mean, honestly, I have a planner that I write in every day, to-do lists, and I just have everything written out. And I number what's the most important thing, 1 to 10, and make sure those 10 things get done. If there's nothing else that gets done that day, then I know that I accomplished what I needed to. And then I'll accomplish the next 10 the next day. And that's really just how I have to live my days, because if I didn't do that, it would become overwhelming and consuming almost in a negative manner, because how do you even do that? How do you manage and maintain a business without some sort of organization? So I know everyone's different, but for me, having that organization, just drawing to the highlighted important tasks of the day is what I need on a daily basis.
So, wow, this is like such an incredible journey that you let us in on, and we're very grateful for you kind of sharing this whole story with us, because it's literally from the apartment to major department stores to major, I don't know if that's the right word, but major food chains.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
That's huge. So what we always ask is, how are you making this your era?
Well, so I think, I've created this business out of passion, and I continue to lead my team with that state of mind. And I continue to live my life passion forward, if you will. And at this point, the business or our success, no matter how you want to define that word success, we've become so successful over the years. And of course we have goals going forward, but it's just an incredible journey. But I would say that at this point, it's ours to lose. We've positioned ourselves in such a wonderful way in the industry and in such a ownership way owning the paleo space, of owning that in the marketplace, because we're still really the only paleo brand out there that has multiple products that offer, we do a banana bread, a pumpkin bread, a sandwich bread, a brownie, granola, energy bites. We just launched 2 more brownies. We did a blondie and a raspberry brownie, and now we have a peppermint brownie.
Oh my gosh.
And so we're really covering the basis, and we have those options for people to really enjoy throughout the day. And so, I would say at this point, it's ours to lose. If we let the balls drop, if we stop caring, if we stop leading with passion, that's where we're going to run into trouble. But if not, if we continue on this journey, which I fully intend to, we're going to make a huge impact in the industry, even more so than we are right now.
Amen. Well, this is certainly your era. And after naming all those brownies that you have, I'm getting hungry. And in case the listeners are getting hungry, we understand that you have a discount code for us, a special This Is My Era discount code, correct?
Yes. It'll be a 15% off discount. It'll run for a week after this airs, and the discount code is TIME, so all capital letters, TIME, and just enter that in on our website, which is baseculture.com. That's BASECULTURE.com when you're checking out, and you'll receive that 15% off.
Perfect. So from the date this episode airs, our listeners will get 15% off for a week.
Exactly.
Baseculture.com.
Yep.
Awesome. So I need one more thing from you before we get out of here.
Okay.
I need a drop. It is, you familiar with what a drop is?
You're going to have to run that by me.
Okay. So imagine that you're a recording artist in front of a camera, and I need you to do it a little something like this. What's up, world? This is Jordann Windschauer, founder and CEO of Base Culture, Paleo Food Goliath, and this is my era. What about you?
All right.
Something similar to that. You use your own words. That was my JW freestyle.
Perfect. All right. Hey guys, this is Jordann. I am the founder and CEO of Base Culture. We do all natural, gluten-free, paleo baked goods and snacks. This is my era. What about you?
Doop, 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 doop. Great job.
Awesome. Glad I could come through.
Yeah, we're glad you came.
This is my era. Well, let's go. This is my era. Oh yeah. This is my era. This is my era. Come on. Come on. This is my era. This is my era. What about you? Everybody runs the race. Some have what it takes, and others don't make it through. What about you? Stand up when they call your name. Stand out when you do your job. Let greatness notice you. If you're just wishing for glory, then what are you asking? Victory ain't sweet if you don't live through the pain. So many great ones before me found glory everlasting. This what I came to do, came to be. Cause see, this is my era. Oh yeah, this is my era. This is my era. Come on, this is my era. This is my era. Come on, this is my era. What about you?
This is my era, this is my era. The mission and the vision never been so clearer. Seems like the world ain't getting no better. If you wanna see a change, take a look in the mirror now. You possess the key to unlock it. Open up the door, opportunities knocking. You can't deny. On this road that we're walking, there's gonna be some obstacles, but we'll keep on marching. Some will doubt you, even talk about you, but this world wouldn't be the same without you. Golden people on the rise, we know our value. Reaching the impossible, we'll show you how to. Don't know about you, but I know about me. I was born with everything I need to succeed. Living out the dreams, what I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to be. Cause see,
This is my era. This is my era. living and breathing. I reach for the sky, giving living a meaning.